we want to get started with Python. Now, Python is a scripting language, just like your MATLAB. When we talk about C, C++, they are programming languages, a compiler-driven program. What happens is such program needs to be compiled first, it requires assembled, and then you get an exe. The same thing with Java, .NET, and so on. However, the scripting languages are one which are interpreted in line, which means that each line of code that you write are executable, just like MATLAB. So, the entire Python programming can be developed part by part, okay, as single set of instructions or multiple set of instructions, or they can be written in a script with .py extension, and the entire script is going to be executed by executing one instruction after the other. So, if you want to get started with Python, one of the best way to do is do it online. Now, Python has got several versions. Commonly, Python 2.7 and Python 3.4 are the most stable version of Python. So, we'll go ahead and do our understanding of Python by using Python 3.4. We are not going to look into Python 2.7. There are many instructions in 2.7 which are no more supported in 3.4, and many 3.4 instructions are not backward compatible. Okay, so we'll go with Python 3, which is commonly known as Python 3 also. Python 3.5 is also introduced, but this is still not that stable. So we'll prefer 3.4 at this moment. In order to perform any scripting with Python, you can go ahead with any online Python compiler, repl.it. repl.it is one such compiler. You can just get started by writing start coding now. Once you select, you'll have several options what type of code you want to write. You can just go for Python 3. So, on the left hand side, you can see the editor. On the right hand side, you can see the command. It runs on Linux. So, on the right side, you can see the command prompt where you'll be seeing the output, and left side is your editor. Are you able to see the size? Is better, right? Okay. So, unlike C, C++, where you had to declare a variable before using, just like MATLAB, Python doesn't require you to declare any variable specifically. You can simply initialize any variable. Let's say a is equal to 10. You may or may not give a semicolon at the end of this statement. It doesn't make any difference. In MATLAB, if you do not give a semicolon, this statement is also going to be displayed, the result. However, in Python, there is no such thing. Okay, so you may or may not use the semicolon. Let's say b is equal to 20. Let's say c is equal to a plus b. In order to print the result, we can use the print command. Print C. For executing, all you have to do is press the run command. When you press the run command on the right side, you'll see the result. You can see that the result it is showing is 30. Here is the result that it's going to show over here. It's 30. Now, many number of times while we process the input or output, we require to give some statement. So remember, in C program we write printf the result of addition is equal to, then we give %d. Okay? In Python, you can do this by concatenating the result with a string, something like this. See, the result of addition C equal to. Now in Python you can use a string with single quotation also and with double quotation also. Okay? But unlike Java, where you can add anything with a string, that is number, you can add character, you can add float, double, whatever with a string, directly with the plus operation, Python doesn't support such kind of operation. So a string can be concatenated only with a string. In order to convert any data type into string, you can simply write str. Just by giving str command or str function, by using str Python function, you can convert any variable into string type. And then you can add some other string to format your result. As you can see now, the result of addition equal to 30. Okay, so it's as simple as that. In order to declare any data type, just initialize it. Okay, and you can just carry out the operation simply one after the other. Now the best thing about Python is it is not a hard data type system. What is the meaning is, every time you initialize a variable, its data type is going to be changed according to the data you are storing in it. For instance, here I have declared a as a number, as an integer. Now let me change a to a is equal to hello world. You can also use single quotation, not an issue. And then when you try to print a will be considered as, you can see, hello result is printed for you. It doesn't give any errors. In C, if you declare something as integer and try to store some string in it, it's going to give the problem. The same thing with any other operating system, but the scripting languages like MATLAB and Python, they're quite similar. In fact, you can dynamically change the data type of the variable. Whatever you assign, the variable's data type is going to be changed. Now, by default, whenever you work with Python, Python has a special type of data which is called a list. Okay? It's almost like a linked list. A list is one which is no. So Python has a special data type called list. A list is simply one where you can store multiple data. Okay. Now, a string contains characters. Okay. So by default, anything that you declare as string is also a Python list. Okay. Therefore, you can not only access a string as it is, but you can also access the independent characters of it. You have to treat it just like a single dimensional array. Okay. Unlike MATLAB, in MATLAB, array dimension starts from 1 to n. In Python, the dimension starts from 0 to n minus 1, just like any other popular languages. So, instead of accessing it, if I say a of 0, it's going to print age, because a of 0 is age. As you can see the response over here, that is age. Okay? Let me see if okay, similarly, a of 1, it's going to show e. We'll be able to see e over here. So I can treat it as simply a list, and I can access individual element of the list. Now, one of the most common things that we'll be doing in any programming language is looping through a list or looping through an array or so and so. So, a for loop in Python is extremely simple. For, you have to give one indexing variable name. Let's say I. You have to write in range 0 to 10 colon, which means that it should start from 0 and up to 9. So it is almost like what you do in C is for I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Here we declare an inline variable called I. We specify the range, that is between 0 to 10, and it should end with a colon. Now, let me put this before this. That's similar to this. Now, once you have a loop, Python doesn't have any curly braces to define the body of the loop. This is known as the indent, the space on the left side. This is the space on the left side is known as an indent. Generally, whenever you specify any loop or control statement in Python, that has to be followed by an indent. So, entire body of the loop should be specified within that specific indent. Okay. Print I. That's it. Okay. And whenever you are inside the loop, once you have completed one statement, if you press enter, most of the Python editor will take you to the same indent. If you want the loop to be completed, all you have to do is just press a backspace and just press enter so that you come out of the loop. Even if you stay over here, don't use backspace, doesn't make a difference. It's going to treat the loop to be only this much. Let's check it out. Let's run it. Okay, so 0 to 9, it's almost like for I is equal to 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. Now, what if I want it to be something like this? I is equal to I plus 2. That means I want the loop to be implemented in a multiplier of 2. So, all you have to do is you have to specify a third variable, comma 2. So, I in range 0, comma 10, comma 2 in the sense I is equal to 0, I less than 10, and I is equal to I plus 2. So, now this loop will execute first 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. If you execute, you will see the result there 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, this is up to this is fine, but what if I want a C loop which is something like this? For I is equal to 10, I is greater than equal to 0, and I minus minus. Okay, sometimes I may want to decrement the loop also, not always it is going to be incremented. So how am I going to specify? Again, it's the same thing. For I in range, now you are starting from 10, okay, going up to 0, in the steps of minus 1. In the steps, we call it in the steps of. So starting from 10 up to 0 in the steps of minus 1, which means first it should take 10, then 9, 8, 7, so and so. Just use a colon. Let's say print I. Now before this, let us put one print statement. Let's say decrementing loop. Let's check this. That's forgotten go. Now, see, if you are specifying from 10 to 0 minus 1, you see it stops at 1. Because by default, whatever number you specify, it is going to be one number before that. Because Python always has 0 to n minus 1. Similarly, when you say 10, starting from 10, go up to 0 in the steps of minus 1. So it will stop at 1, not 0. In order to make it go up to 0, all you have to do is just change this to minus 1. So starting from 10 till 0 in the steps of minus 1. Okay? So if you execute this, it will start from 10. It will go up to 0. Okay? So if you want to have a decrementing loop traversing up to certain number, that is less than equal to, if you are specifying for loop something like this, greater than equal to 0, then you have to specify the end number as minus 1. Okay? But if you want the loop to be in this fashion, that is greater than 0, which means 0 should not be considered. Under that situation, you can simply write it as 0. Same thing with the incrementing loop. If your loop is something like for I equal to 0, I less than equal to 10, which means you also want to incorporate 10, you have to just take the next number, that is 11. Then it is going to stop at 10. Okay, see, 0 to 10 in the steps of 2, because we have specified 2 here, 0 to 10 in the steps of minus 1. So 10, 9, 8, 7 up to 1. Okay. A for loop may contain multiple statements also. Okay. Now let us do a simple program of adding first 10 numbers. Okay, and at the end of the loop, let's print it, or or print it simultaneously. So let's say a variable sum equal to 0. Now, doing operations inside a loop. Let's say sum is equal to 0 for I in range, let's say 0 to 5. I want to add all the numbers. Okay. So sum is equal to sum plus I. Initially sum is 0. In every step I am adding sum and I am printing the value at the end of the loop. So generally, if you put the print statement within the loop itself, every time it adds, it will keep on giving you the result. But I want to add the first 5 numbers. Okay, that is number between 0 to 4. Let's call it 6, such that it adds the number between 0 to 4. Print sum. So the sum is 15. Okay, it will add 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10 plus 5 is 15. So the addition of numbers between 0 and 5 are, let's specify the string. So you can also put print statement. Let's assume that we want to have every loop element being multiplied by 100. Okay, and we want to display. Say a simple example that whatever loop element is there, we want to multiply 100 with that, and we want to print the 100 multiplier. Okay, so one more thing in Python, if you want to specify comment statement, you have to use hash. Adding in numbers. So let's say for I in range 0 to 6, j is equal to I into 100. Let's put a print statement. Print, I want to display it in this fashion. The ith value, that is, for example, 0 into 100 equal to its value, 1 into 100 its value. So the loop variable is going to be changed every time. So let's put it in simple fashion. String of I, this is dynamic, so let us convert it into string type, plus into 100 equal to, this much will remain constant, plus whenever you into 100. So whenever you are multiplying something with 100, its result is present in j. Let us put the value of j. That is string j. So as you can see now, the for loop in earlier cases, whatever we have used, had only one statement. Now we have multiple statements. Things to be remembered is that you can see the indent of all the statement is same. You have one tab. Okay. So let's execute. As you can see, 0 into 100 equal to 0, 1 into 100 equal to 100, 2 into 100 equal to 200, 3 into 100 equal to 300, and so on. So now, in case if you want to perform a nested for operation, okay, so how we can do a nested for loop? Again, is the same thing. So let's assume that we want to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so and so. And for 0 we want to print hello 2 times. For 1 we want to print hello 2 times. For 2 we want to print hello 2 times. So my result will be 0, hello, hello, 1, hello, hello, 2, hello, hello, something like that. So what we need to do is that there will be a loop for 0 to 5, and then there should be another loop to print hello twice, right? So it should be one loop within another loop. So how you can do? It's again the simple thing. For I in range, say 0, 6, give a colon in there. Okay. Now you need one more loop for j in range 0, 2, such that 0 and 1 twice it should be. When you give colon and if you enter, you can see that there is one more indent being added. Okay. Now here you can write print but recall, before we wanted to print hello, we wanted to put the value of I. So just give enter, print I. Now see, it's all about indent. For I in range 0 to 6, we are printing the value of I. Okay. So print of I is part of this loop. Again, this for loop for j in range 0 to 2, this also has the same indent. Therefore, for every I, this is also going to be printed. And for every j, this is going to print twice. So, by changing the, so you can write any number of loops, one within the another. It is not required for you to write the loop continuously. You can have certain statement in one loop, okay? Carry that statement inside the other loop and so on. So, you just need to be sure of the indent. For example, here, it has got one indent, so it is part of the for loop. It has got one indent, so it is part of the outer for loop. It has got two indents, 1, 2, so it is part of the inner for loop. It is extremely difficult in Python sometimes when you have large programs, large number of loops to find out where exactly the loop is. Okay. So, therefore, I always suggest you to, whenever you create a loop, just write a comment statement in the first statement of the loop. Start of, so I'll show from the beginning how efficient you can write. For I in range 0, 6. You should always write, in case you are writing big loops, I loop starts here. And immediately you should write I loop ends here. Whatever coding you want to make, you have to make within this. So here I will be writing print the value of I. Okay. Then I will again print. I will again write for j in range 0, 1 or 0, 2 rather. Now because it is an inner loop, you can write j loop starts here followed by another command j loop ends here, and whatever processing you have to do it in between them. Print say hello world or print hello. Now even if it is quite long, when you see this you can observe the loop structure. Also in most of the editors will show you this line which will show you the loop boundary. Now if you have written like this, you do not have any problem in finding where is the start and the end of the loop is. Many people on the other hand also follows this technique. In case if you are writing huge scripts, okay, there will be many indents, so it becomes sometimes extremely difficult to loop through with the indent. So many people also prefers to put a curly brace in the command. If you are using curly braces, you can then keep on counting number 1, number 2, okay, and first curly brace ends. So this is the part of this loop, This is the part of the outer loop, because Python doesn't support curly braces. In case if your loop structure becomes quite huge, either you can use a comment specifying which loop you are in, but always end the comment, or else just start and end the loop in this fashion. Start and end the loop in this fashion, and whatever code you want to write inside this statement. Okay, this is not required in Python, but this is much more efficient way of doing it. Let's execute this. You see 0, hello twice, 1, hello twice, 2, hello twice, and so on. Always remember that Python is very indent sensitive. Java and .NET, you can reorganize the program at your will. You can give space and you can rearrange. Suppose I give 3 spaces over here. Let's see what happens. If you run this, see the error it's going to give is indentation error. Unindent does not match any other indentation level. So whenever you get an error called indentation, you should have to understand that it doesn't match with the level. So you have to take them to similar indent, then only your code gets executed. So one of the common errors in Python is an indentation error. If you have done MATLAB, one of the common things that you might remember is, look, what I'm doing is, I'm generating one error over here, right? But before this error, whatever we have written, that program is perfectly alright. What MATLAB does is, if MATLAB has got certain errors, MATLAB will execute the program till the error. Okay, but it's going to execute the program till the error, because this is a scripting language and each line of script in itself is a command. As you have seen that we are specifying the commands one after the other. But if you observe carefully, if you have an error in Python script, I'm talking about a Python script, it doesn't execute up to the error. It doesn't totally execute this. It doesn't at all execute this script. So even though Python is a scripting language, the entire script is interpreted at once rather than individual instructions. Okay, so it first checks for the errors of individual statements, and if there is no error, it executes. Okay. Next important thing that we do with our program is decision making. So if is a very important thing for decision making. How do we use if? The logical statements. Let's say we have a number, some number, and we want to see whether this number is even or odd. All you can do is, if I modulus, if num modulus 2 equal to 0, print is even, and it should also have else. I mean, the if statement may also have else. If you want to have else, you see when you write one statement in if you press enter, it comes to the same level. But else is also having its own level. Okay, so if and else are at the same level. So press a backspace, else, and even after else you should give colon. That's it. So if, then the logical statement followed by colon, followed by whatever processing you want to do within that if statement, followed by indent which is similar to if, followed by colon, followed by another indent, and the statements that are required for the else statement. So 19 is odd. It shows that 19 is odd. Absolutely at the bottom you can see 19 is odd. Okay. If we write it 190, 190 is even. Okay. So this is as simple as that. Now, what if I want to put a if loop within a for? Okay. Suppose I want to put a if statement within a for. How to do that? So, an if statement inside for. Okay. Let us loop through numbers between 0 to 9 and print which is even, which is odd. Okay. So, let us say for num in range 0 to 10. Okay. Once you have done this, you can copy this entire thing and paste it over here. Now, see, in most of the Python editors, when you copy paste any part, the indent is going to be lost. Okay, this is a major problem. So, you have to manually set the indent. Okay, so as you see, it shows the indentation error. So in Python, if you have to copy paste something, you need to be very careful with indentation. That's one of the biggest drawback. Copy pasting is little hazardous or little difficult over here. Now you see 0 is even, 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, 4 is even, 5 is odd, 6 is even, 7 is odd, 8 is even, 9 is odd. So you can simply nest multiple for loops, or you can put a logical statement or if inside a for. You can have one if inside another if, so and so. Now, one of the common structures that we deal with is the only thing that you have to be careful with is the indent structure. That's it. Now, let us understand the if-else statement. Okay, generally in C or any other programming language, the structure of if is you can either have only if, or you can have if-else, or you can have if followed by several else if statement, followed lastly by an else statement. Okay, so use of if-else. Let's say I declare a variable called day. Let's say day equal to 1. Okay. and I want to print Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so and so as the day changes. So if day equal to 1, print Monday, in Python you don't have else if. The statement is called elif, elif. Elif day equal to 2, print Tuesday. Elif day equal to 3, print Wednesday. Else elif day equal to 4, print Thursday. Elif day equal to 5, print Friday. Else print weekends. Okay. So one if statement followed by several if, lastly followed by an else statement. So as you can see, it is showing Monday because my day is 1. If I give 3, it's showing Wednesday. Last result, Wednesday. If I give 6, it shows weekends. Now, one of the very important thing that you might have noticed, I do not know whether you have noticed or not. In C, whenever we deal with loop, we write it in this fashion. If day equal to 6. Now observe the use of round brackets or first bracket. Right? In Python, you can see I have not used a bracket over here, but that doesn't mean that you cannot. You can very well so using the round bracket or first bracket with a logical statement for a logical statement is your choice. If you are not comfortable writing it like day equal to 4, you can also adopt the C style coding. So if you know C, it's as simple as that. And this is also true for MATLAB. In MATLAB also, when you are specifying if statement, you can simply write if day double equal to 1. MATLAB has a different loop structure. It ends with n and it doesn't have indentation. In Python also it's the same thing. So you may or may not use the bracket. It purely depends upon you. Okay.